Thanks for staying with us here on TV5 News at 9. It's time now for a new edition of Aging in Style with Vitale Wealth Management. And by carefully planning and managing your asset allocation strategy, you can help ensure your retirement savings last throughout your lifetime, providing you with both financial security and peace of mind, of course. Joining us now is President and CEO Joe Vitale. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Good morning, Lauren. How are you?
Good morning. We're happy to have you.
Thanks.
And before we get started, we want to remind you, don't forget to download Joe's newsletter, Financial Vitals, for all the latest in market trends and financial news. You can just scan that QR code right now on your screen to get access. Today, we are continuing our conversation on planning for retirement, specifically looking at some key principles. Joe, tell us, what are risk and tolerance, and what role do they play in retirement planning?
Well, you know, risk and tolerance, you should be kind of the same, but people say, well, my risk score is, let's say, a 50, meaning 50% of their money could be in investments. The rest of it should be safe. But then they could say, but Joe, I better never lose a penny. Well, they have no tolerance, right, for risk. So even though they say they want growth, they want risk, but if they can't understand market volatility, there's no tolerance for the risk. So we have to allocate them properly to have a good blend of safety, you know, growth, risk, tolerance, and make sure it all comes into play.
And how can we ensure a steady income over time?
We've had clients who say, Joe, I want 100% of my money in the market at all times. I'm a little subjective for that because a lot of times when things go down, like in 2022, no matter what sector you were in, everything went down. Bonds lost 15%. The market was down 20 to 40%. So where's the safe haven? But if you have safety with things that are outside of the market, if you have like a guaranteed annuity that can give you guaranteed income with no risk or fees, or that can never lose, if the market goes up, you can get 8 to 10%. If it goes down, you get a 0. That's one way to ensure that your income is protected and still you're able to make it up if the market goes down, which was a big problem when you look at, remember back in 2008, a lot of people, this was a long time ago, but that was our Great Recession.
Yes.
And it freaked so many people out from ever wanting to go back in the market. But those who were able to who had safe money on the side, were able to make it up and make it up big time and do a lot better. So you have to have that healthy balance.
So what about stocks and equities? Can you help us understand how they play a role in balancing growth and both safety?
I think stocks are awesome. Equities are awesome. You got your ETFs, which are, you want to have stocks, but there's all different kinds. Are you going to have growth stocks? Are you going to have value stocks, like the staples that are always here, pay good dividends? You should have a healthy balance of growth because you don't know what sector is going to go. You know, the NASDAQ could be the high one, which is all tech stocks. You could have the S&P. You could have the Dow. Which all, some are value stocks where maybe they only go up 8 to 10% a year, which is still good. But then you've got the growth that are going up 20 to 30%, but they're a lot more risky. So you want to have a healthy balance of growth, safety, and risk, but different sectors to make sure that you're not missing the boat, but also you're getting a good sustainable growth.
So what about bonds and fixed income investments?
Bonds are a good thing to have in moderation, I believe. And fixed income, a lot of my money that we're putting into bonds, we're actually looking at fixed income. We're looking at, it's okay, you know, you can have bonds which have a good yield and income and money markets, but also annuities you should put in there as long as they don't have a lot of the fees. Some of these fee-based annuities, you're looking at 3 to 4% in fees, which is ridiculous. You can get a no-fee annuity that pays really good, and it's your safe haven. I like to have that for safety and then be able to let the money grow in the market.
All right. And finally, cash and cash equivalents. What about those?
Cash, you always want to have cash on hand. You know, I always want to have at least 3 to 6 months. People say, what's that magic number? Well, what is that number that you feel secure with? Is it 50,000 sitting in the bank? I love that number, you know, but everybody has their own. I had one of my farmers in the thumb, and he said he was getting shakes if I took under 100,000, if he had under 100,000 in the bank.
Oh, wow.
Because he has to have that availability if he needs it. So you have to have cash, cash equivalents, money markets, short-term T-bills, things that are readily accessible. You want to make sure you're never caught short. You know, that if the market does correct or if we do have a downturn, you better have cash on hand to make it through it, because you will make it through it. If you remember, just even last year we had the Liberation Day when all of a sudden the tariffs hit, and some people kind of lost their minds a little bit. We had a 20% correction, but guess what? In 1 month it was made up. Well, if you're pulling so much money out of your accounts that you don't have enough cash on hand, you just lost money you didn't need to. So you want to be able to pivot if you ever need to.
Yeah, feeling secure in your account is
That's
so
exactly
important,
it. Absolutely.
of course. And you've said inflation erodes the purchasing power of money over time. How can we better ensure we have inflation protection?
You know, when inflation was high, we had TIPS, which are inflation-protected investments, and they were getting better rates of return, which are not. But inflation, everybody was concerned that it's going to be super, you know, they first said it was transitory, but it stuck around quite a bit. But now it's starting to come down. The CPI numbers came in at 2.7%. And they were thinking these tariffs were going to be really inflationary, and they're not. 2.7 is very low. We're getting lower and lower with inflation. But you still need to make sure that your money's not sitting in the bank doing nothing. Get some guaranteed rates of return. We can still get over a 5% guarantee right now to make sure that even safely you're keeping up with inflation and surpassing inflation.
And how important is that, real quick, to keep up with inflation?
I think it's important. As you say, it erodes your purchasing power. You know, people don't realize it, that if you're on a fixed income, a lot of these pensions, they don't have any inflation. So you're on the same fixed income, and now, especially in the last 5 years, everything has almost doubled. It's been ridiculous what our inflation is at.
Yes.
And it's still not coming down to where we see it. So we definitely have to look at that.
Everything is feeling a little more expensive lately.
Indeed it is, yes.
Finally, diversification. You've talked about this many times before. Can you just explain once again, what is it and why is this so important in retirement planning?
Well, if you have all your eggs in one basket in the stock market and the market goes down, you're kind of up the creek, right? You're kind of screwed in that respect, because what if you need money? You got to wait for the market to come back. So diversify. Have cash on hand for that short. Have annuities for when they're good. You know, and they're slow. Even though you're not making huge rate of return, you're safe. Have growth stocks. Have growth stocks, safe stocks, dividend stocks, international stocks, because what's crazy is last year, international stocks surprised everybody with over 30% in growth. They far surpassed every other entity out there. Why? Who saw that coming? So having a piece of everything is very good, because you just don't know what's going to win that year.
Lots of great tips, as always.
Thank
Joe,
you.
Anything else you'd like our viewers to know before we wrap up?
Well, any question now with starting the first of the year, we're looking at, make sure we look at some tax strategies, right? We're looking at Roth conversion strategies, making sure our income, we like to get a good gauge in the first quarter of where it's going to be and have these conversations. Some people might not know if they can retire or not. Give us a call. We'll help you with that. You might be surprised at what it looks like.
Definitely. Joe, thank you for being here. We appreciate
pleasure.
it. And we will have more episodes on those topics as well on our website. Go to the features page on WNEM.com. And before we leave, scan that QR code on your screen to get market updates and much more. They're Joe's newsletter, Financial Vitals. You can just scan that right now. Open your camera app, scan the QR code, and we'll have more episodes of Aging in Style on WNEM.com.